Hello everybody. We should be live. I thought I got rid of the delay, but I was just sitting there waiting for ages and the delay is still there. How are we all? It's what, 7 a.m. here Sunday morning, and I'm seeing a lot of people from a lot of different countries. I changed the scene a little bit. We've snuck in our little rotary tool over here, so he's having a good time. He hasn't actually been turned on for 2 days. The first time it's been off for even just one day in a year at least. So that's been interesting. Um, yeah, might as well start off. A lot of you saw on Facebook that I got smacked in the head pretty hard. So the first question to address I've got written down on paper just here. How are you feeling? So basically, I just got clobbered in the head Thursday night. It was a pretty swift and pretty hard hit. So just a little bit of concussion. Friday, I'm probably, a lot of people refer to me as the dumbest smart person in the world. So I, of course, got up in the morning, felt terrible. Um, so I went straight to work, jumped on the bus. I was walking down the street on the way to work, and my leg stopped working for a second there, and I fell over and had an old lady help me up. And then what did I do? I still didn't go to the doctors. I just went straight to work. I had what, two commitments on, and I just whatever made sure I got there. So yeah, I do feel a lot better now. Just a slight headache. A couple days later, all over. Well, pretty much all over. And yeah, I'm just about getting ready to get this thing back on. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow. Yeah, it's felt weird not doing anything Opal related for 2 days. It's a bit strange. So yeah, that's why we're doing a live stream Q&A rather than uploading the next video, because I don't actually have one recorded at the moment. If only I knew I was going to get concussed and I could get a video ahead. Oh yeah, and because this is live, I will look at the. Oh, I'm looking around everywhere. I will look at the questions and stuff coming in live, and I'll just make a note of it. So yeah, and we'll get to those ones. I've got a list of a dozen or so here, adding as we go. So one of the most common questions I get is, what do I dop with and why? Also, how do I remove it? So I've shown it in a couple videos. We'll switch over to this scene. So what I actually use, I actually use 5-minute epoxy from Selly's. Well, it's Selly's branded. So Selly's 5-minute. This should be up on screen, I'm hoping. So this is what I'm using. It's pretty good. I've got it down here all the time. So right, we'll switch back over to me. Selly's Araldite 5-minute epoxy. It's pretty good. It's pretty quick. I'm a huge fan. I used to use wax. I used to only use wax, so just the green dopping wax. I don't actually have any around because I haven't restocked since I switched over. I used to use green dopping wax full on, but some of the shops here in Adelaide, because I'm in Adelaide, there's a lot of Opal shops, and the carvers there, they use this, and I thought, yeah, alright, I'll try it. I wasn't a huge fan at first, but it does turn out to be pretty versatile. I've also got, if I need a speedy dop, an instant dop as I call it sometimes, I just use super glue. This one literally just says super glue. So that's what I use if I need like a straight away bam. I feel like my mic level might be too high. No, we'll let it go. So yeah, that's what I'm using to dop, and then to get rid of them, both the super glue and the epoxy, both of those I leave in water. The super glue I only need to leave in water for a few minutes. The epoxy I kind of need to leave it there for a good 30 minutes, and then it finally starts giving up and you can just peel it off with your fingernail. Typically I don't get much residue sticking to the stone by the end of it, and if I do, I just leave it in water for longer. So the water doesn't harm the opal. We cut in water, so just soaking it in water is pretty good. Pretty good. Next one. Short-term memory is still a little fuzzy. If money wasn't an issue, what would be the next piece of equipment I'd buy? Alright. So, I reckon if I was to go and buy anything in the world right now, it would be a big cabbing wheel. Because, I mean, a lot of people say just clamp your Dremel and stuff like that, but it's still, no matter what you do, it's still not a cabbing tool. So I'll just bring up, this and switch back over. So probably this 4-wheeled Gem Master, or, I mean, they did say money is no issue, so a big 6-wheel, because this will be a pretty comprehensive beast. So you can start off with your rough sintered, fine sintered, black Nova, brown, grey, pink. You'll notice that they're all the exact same ones that I use when I'm using my rotary tool. The same stages. It's just an opal go-to. They just work out so well. By the time you're finished with this 3000, move on to your cerium oxide or whatever polishing compound you want, and you're all good. It's just such a simple way to get through it, and it's, the hint is in the name, cabber. So with a cabbing machine, you can just get those nice shapes, nice cabs done just a lot quicker, so much quicker. Someone asked in a recent video how long it takes me to get a stone done for a video, and it's on the scale. I mean, I crop it down to like a 10-minute video with a bit of speeding and editing and stuff, but it takes hours. It takes multiple hours, like 2-3 hours, just to get a stone from rough to finished. So it's a lot of effort, and I'm sure a lot of you guys that do a lot of this carving also know that it takes time to get that stuff done. So it's quite a decent time commitment, but it's still faster than sandpaper using the rotary tools, so I'm quite happy with that. Getting the best finish on boulder without using glue. So the best way to go with boulder, if you don't want to get a lot of powders stuck in there and stuff, I would suggest that it's almost worth getting a couple extra Nova points. So if I look here, so this is the pink 3000 grit Nova, and this is where I stop. But if I grab the sheet, you can see here, oh, if it'll focus on it, oh, that's probably the best we're going to get. There we go. So you can see there, I've highlighted the ones that I have: black, brown, grey, rose. That's all I really need for most of my stuff. But you can see there, it goes all the way up to 50,000 with the light blue Nova. Now that actually does get a pretty good finish on boulder opal. So if you want to do it that way, you can also use diamond grits. Diamond grits go pretty well. Diamond grits on like a wooden burr. I made a video ages ago on making your own wooden burrs, but I don't have one lying around at the moment. I mean, here's a ultra dodgy version. This is just the end of a barbecue skewer that I used as a wooden burr for some really small cracks. Well, not cracks, but really small gaps in a freeform. So yeah, that's another way to get a good finish on boulder opal without using glue. Because yeah, I mean, you know, the person that's already asked the question already knows that a lot of time you just put a thin super glue over the top, polish that up, and you're all good. It fills in all the pores and everything. So let's have a look. Another one. So best triplet doublet backing in glue. I've been getting a lot of interest in people asking about doublets at the moment. So in terms of backing, for me, the gold standard of backing is got to be obsidian. Obsidian is just, it's harder, it provides a lot of extra strength. You glue it on, you can get it nice and smooth. I mean, it's a glass, so it's pretty good. The color of it's nice. It's a real dark kind of glass. If you get the black stuff, don't get the fancy stuff that's got like waves and streaks of brown and red and stuff through it. I'm not a huge fan of that. So just black obsidian if you have to search for it. Yeah, that's it's just gives you so many great benefits using that as the backing. For glue, I think talking to the people that do this for a living, a lot of the time they're still using epoxy 330, and I mean I've had good results with epoxy 330, so it's fairly water resistant too. If you can really get it in there and get the air bubbles out, you can actually soak a doublet or triplet for quite a while and it won't actually fall apart. The modern glues are actually making doublets and triplets a lot better. I'm still not a fan of triplets, but doublets is pretty good. I see a good point for them on the market. And yeah, backing, you can still use anything. People use all sorts of stuff. They use vinyl records, so if you've got vinyl records lying around, you can try that, just smoothing off the music or whatever's on it. Yeah, you've got your classic ironstone. Try not to get the sandy ironstone. You need that really dense hard stuff. Black Potch is always a go-to if you can get them in large enough pieces. The problem with them is that you can't get them, like when I do doublets, I get a big slab, like a big piece like this of black obsidian, and then you just glue lots of your little crystals on the front. Try to space them out a lot. The first time I ever did it, I put them pretty close together, and the Dremel getting in there and cutting them all out like a jigsaw was, oh man, it took ages. It took ages. I spent so long getting air bubbles out of the glue, but cutting it was just something else. Because I really just didn't want to clip the edge of another opal with the diamond blade. But yeah, that's where I stand on backing and glue. So metal oxides versus diamond paste for polishing. So you've got tin oxide, aluminium oxide, cerium oxide, of course. Yeah, and then you've got all the diamond paste and diamond grits. I normally have some floating around, but they're buried under other opal. Yeah, I mean it's what you get used to, and everything is basically it. They all work. Some do work better than others. Like going back to the boulder opal, I found that which one is it? Tin oxide. Tin oxide gets a really nice finish on boulder compared to cerium oxide. I don't know exactly why, but it's just how it's been from what I've played with and what other people have said. So they've got different purposes. I know a lot of people that do Ethiopian Wellow Opal, they seem to always just use diamonds. So all sorts of diamond grits and diamond pastes. They stay away from the cerium. Some say it sucks it all the way in. I haven't managed to convince a Ethiopian Opal to suck cerium oxide into it yet, but I have actually seen it happen with someone else's cutting, and it's just ended up incorporating a bit of the cerium into the outer coating, which is, yeah, not good. It just made it go a bit milky cloudy, which, yeah, not the best. So favorite opal. So I don't know what that one actually was, whether it was the favorite opal I own at the moment or my favorite opal in general. Anyone viewing the channel for more than a little while knows that boulder opal is my favorite. Boulder opal is, yeah, I don't know. I just love boulder opal. It's so unique, and I like opal for its uniqueness, and boulder opal just takes that to the next level. So I'd have to say boulder opal on that one. Why not cut more lightning ridge opal on the channel? So I mean, there's a few different reasons for that. One, it's incredibly expensive to get nice lightning ridge rough, and I'm running on fumes in terms of cash. The other is we've all seen Black Opal Direct. I mean, they've got an amazing channel. He does just Black Opal typically, and he does it incredibly well. I feel like there's enough Black Opal carving content, well, maybe not carving, but cutting content on YouTube just with that channel alone. So, I mean, I can do more, and people have always asked me to do a bit more of it. So I will do more Black Opal here and there. I'll get some nice pieces and put them up on the channel. I try to cater to the beginner crowd, but I mean, us beginners, we all love to watch Black Opal Direct and his $10,000 gems and stuff. So yeah, I might as well do a couple like that now. I've got a few bits of rough that I've set aside for special occasions. and I think I might start getting into those, crack that bag open. So almost out of questions, so I can go to the live ones. Why freeform carvings are hard to sell? So, I mean, it comes down to everything in life, doesn't it? So, just supply and demand. Supply and demand is probably the biggest issue, because we get a lot of like standard settings. I don't even have any of those lying around. Because we get standard settings and they're all made like 6 by 8 mil, 11 by 7 mil, all this kind of thing, and they're always ovals or circular or sometimes cushion cuts. A lot of those settings are what jewelers use, and therefore the supply and demand equation is a bit out of whack, with everyone really needing those kind of stones to get a very simple setting and just chuck a stone in there. So you're always going to pay a premium for a perfectly beautifully cabbed thing, and that's why I want to get into silversmithing, because I reckon I can make use of some incredible carvings, and you can just pick them up for cheaper. I mean, I won't be buying any. I've got plenty saved up that I've got setting ideas. I've got a book where I draw certain designs and stuff, whether it's wire wraps, which I'm still not great at, or just silversmithing, goldsmithing, metalsmithing in general. I've got lots of that to come up on the channel once I sit a course. I'm going to actually do a course somewhere in the city and just get a hang of it. Do a couple of weekend courses as well, and just play around with some people that know what they're doing and learn, because that's always the best way to go. What is Potch? That's an easy one. So Potch is basically opal. It's basically common opal. So this is a big chunk of crazed Potch. So it's opal. It's an Australian opal from Coober Pedy, but it's got zero colour in it at all. No colour, just Potch, basically. So common opal, not precious opal. And you've got yourself Potch. So you got Lightning Ridge Potch, you got the black Potch, that's what you'd use as the backing, all that kind of stuff. So that is Potch. How hot has your shed gotten in the past? So I actually have... here we go. So this is a thermometer that I keep in the shed. I've actually got two, but one's a mercury one, so I don't like to get it out too much. And right now it is a little bit chilly at 18 degrees, which is why I've got the jacket on. I'm not hiding some massive gash on my head from the hit. That has actually got me to 49 degrees Celsius, which is pretty much exactly 120 Fahrenheit. So it gets warm. It gets warm, but I've got the aircon over there now, the evaporative. One of the subscribers suggested it, and I scooped one up. It was pretty cheap, and I don't get to that temperature anymore. I was a little disappointed at 49 degrees, because I'd like it to just clip over to 50. But, you know, I'll settle for 49. 50 is probably a bit much. How much weight is lost during cutting, so that I can judge how much I'm going to end up with from a piece of rough? I mean, it's really tough. So when I'm buying rough and I look at it and I say, all right, it's $10 a carat, I automatically assume that I'm going to lose at least 50%. Some people like to factor in 70%. I typically go 50%, bit optimistic. So 50%, and then you just average that carat weight out. So if it was $10 a carat for the rough, you're looking like you're going to need to be able to cut something that's $20 a carat by the end of it, otherwise you're going to lose out. So that's one number, 50%, but it really depends. I mean, boulder opal, you don't do it by carat weight anyway, you do it by the piece. Yeah, with the Lightning Ridge Coober Pedy stuff, I just always factor in 50%, otherwise, yeah, you know, like 70%. Some people do 80% if they're really scared. So, yeah, basically, it's your kind of risk tolerance and whatnot. And then the last question, which was the first one that popped up in the live chat, was centering novas. Now, this is a good point, because I struggled with this as well. I mean, I'm still battling through it now. I've got some new novas coming, but see, the higher grit ones, they're not affected. You can see that that's the shape that it was basically fresh out of the factory from. It's got a little scrape up here, which I accidentally did pretty early on in the piece, before I knew exactly what I was doing with them. So that one's a pretty normal shape. Put it next to this. Oh my god, it's actually a lot smaller. I've never noticed because I've never put them together. So these were the same shape and same size, but this is the 280 grit Nova. And you can see that it's actually much smaller, but the shape of it is also not great. So it kind of flares out towards the bottom edge just because you don't use the bottom edge consciously so much. Now, it was a lot worse than that. So it was much worse, but in videos you'll see that when I'm doing the edges of stones, I actually try to use this kind of edge over here. So it is evening out. The centering is an interesting question though, because that means that it's kind of mounted in your mandrel possibly a little bit crooked, and then you can start getting it to wobble a little bit, and then one side might hit the stone at a higher rate than the other. So that's an issue. When I load my, I've got it right here. When I load any kind of bit in my rotary tool now, I always get the bit. So at the moment we've got this big fat felt wheel. It's a bit of a new one, so it's a bit fluffy. I put it in, and then I'll tighten it by finger, like as hard as I possibly can, and then I'll just give the burr a rotation. So whether it's the felt or whether it's the Novas, it works better on the Novas actually, because the felt's just spinning, and I'll end up threading it. I'll just give it a little bit of a spin before I tighten it right up, and that seems to help with any kind of wobble or misalignment or miscentering. So that's really the way I go about it. Now I better scroll back in time and just see a few of these questions. Hopefully that helped. Yeah, I've got through all of those. Oh yeah, people talking about dopsticks. I've got dowels, I've got toothpicks, I've got chopsticks. Chopsticks are the best ones. So the chopstick I've gotten a lot of use out of. You can use the other end of the chopstick if you need a pointier end, all that kind of stuff. Any kind of pretty dense wood is pretty good. The lighter stuff can get a bit soft, which isn't great. Barbecue skewers, good. I sometimes only need 30 minutes to cut an opal, sometimes days. Yeah, I feel you on that one. Sometimes you just got to put one down. People are having good luck with boulder. Why don't you use a homemade drip system instead of having to continually dunk? I do have one, actually. So the problem is with the setup, the way I record, the dripping has been getting in the way, but I do have an idea to fix that. So I do have a water reservoir that sits up on a stand kind of near my lighting, and this provides me a drip system, but it gets too messy to be able to film with at the moment. So the water kind of spurts up, and it gets in the way of the camera. So it's just a filming thing. Like when I'm doing boulder, running water is so much better. It's just so much better. You can't beat running water. So I actually use that, or I do a lot of the rough carving in, outside under a tap basically, and rinse it. Yeah, so the making of the drip system is actually a video that I've got planned, because I'm gonna tweak my little container thing, that the splatter guard that I call. So the splatter guard's gonna have some holes drilled in it, and I'm gonna be using some wire and some tubing, and we're gonna see if we can get it looking nice. Do you use a vise or clamp? Yeah, so with that flex shaft, it defeats the purpose using it. I did have a mounting clamp kind of stand that the Dremel company makes, but it just wasn't the same. It just didn't feel great. It was hard to kind of get a nice recording set up with it. It was all round just not great. So I like the dexterity. My fingers are still pretty good, and yeah, it's you just get into the groove. And with carvings, you're not doing like a perfect circle or anything. So it's, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the clamp. I tried it for a couple months, but it wasn't something that stuck in the end. I mean, I could bring it back out and we'll have a look at it. Nancy with the numbnut comment. Absolutely perfect. Yeah, I don't think too much about health. I think about science and opal, and that's about it. Boulder split or saw the opal seams. Yes, so out in the field, they do typically just use a rock pick or whatever, a hammer, and just knock it and it just splits and fractures. Because what it can do is it can fracture right along that opal line because it's the softest and most fragile part. The ironstone can be pretty tough. So they have the stone here and you give it a good sharp tap and it just straight apart. But if you've got a piece and you're at home, just use a saw. just just use a saw. You can do a lot less damage with a saw to a good slice of opal than you can with a hammer and chisel. So when you just need a quick test just to see what's in it, and you've got a camera crew all around you with lighting and everything, though Outback Australia don't really need lighting, we've got a lot of that. Yeah, that's when you want to crack it open in front of the cameras. But yeah, a trim saw is pretty good. A trim saw is pretty good. How do you cut and shape the fairy opal? So fairy opal's interesting. It depends on the size of the piece. Typically, you get it in like huge chunks, and you just, oh well, you can get the hammer and chisel out, or just slab it up, saw it across. It's a lot like the big chunks of Andamuka. They're very similar in terms of how you treat them, and then yeah, you go about cutting it, get it close to a polish, and then you do the treatment. So your sugar solution or yeah, well, sugar solution and heat or sulfuric acid kind of thing. Acid, cook it. I'm more of a fan of heat, but both have their pros and cons. So that's how you treat fairy opal, that's for sure. One nice stone would pay for a cabbing setup. That's true, but also, I think to have a proper cabbing setup, I'm actually going to have to buy a new house. So working in this tiny little garage, which is actually meant for one car to just drive in, but we leave it outside the house. Yeah, I don't have any space for that kind of thing. I also want to do the silversmithing stuff, so I've got a table over there that can maybe fit the silversmithing stuff if I can keep it pretty compact. But we're talking like a meter by just under a meter kind of thing, or like 2 by 4 foot max kind of space that I've got. And if I want a nice 6-wheel cabbing machine, they are huge. So at the moment I just borrow other people's. Would love to see how you cut black opal with the Dremel. Doesn't teach us. So Black Opal Direct, if you go on their channel, they do actually have some really good carving videos. I mean, it's not mega in detail, and I don't know, just kind of does it out in the open, and it's not overly well explained. But Justin and his father had put together a couple, and that's how I got into it. So there are a couple videos out there, but yeah, I can look into doing more Black Opal with it. Just need to get some good material. What got you started? Oh, well, look at that. I missed that one, but perfect. So what got me started in opal cutting? I mean, I'd been interested in opal for all my uni years, which is more than 10 years old now. And yeah, I mean, I tried it for a while with just sandpaper, just playing around with some Coober Pedy stuff because it's everywhere around Adelaide. Coober Pedy, some old Andamuka stuff. I've got some matrix around, but back then I was, yeah, basically just Coober Pedy Potch and just scrubbing away with sandpaper. Tried whetstones for a while, recorded videos on both of those to start the channel. But yeah, the rotary tool and carving stuff really took it off, and that was because of Black Opal Direct. So their carving videos got me hooked, and I've been doing it ever since. What is the stuff you use on the dop stick? Yeah, so the dop stick, most of the time, if I'm if I'm patient, it's the epoxy, 5-minute epoxy resin, or super glue. Talked about it near the start, but if you weren't here, the video will be uploaded onto the channel after the live stream, so you can go back and have a quick check where I talk about it a bit more detail. Look at mine, posted it on Facebook, should work for your filming too. Alright, I'll check that out for sure. Why not get an underwheel? I'm not entirely sure what is being meant by an underwheel. Let's have a quick search. Underwheel. Okay, so it's like a flat lap. So I will be getting a flat lap, hopefully pretty soon. Never actually heard of it called an underwheel before, but there are pictures coming up on Google with underwheel. So all right, underwheel. Yeah, I will be getting one. I want to get a bit of everything really. I still want to get a trim saw, which I should really get on top of because I really need it at the moment. Yeah, trim saws, underwheel / flat laps, cabbing wheels, all that kind of stuff, because I'd like the channel to be pretty comprehensive and show off everything basically. And at the moment all I do is either go to the clubs nearby that have, well, the club nearby that has a full setup, or just friends and miners that have saws. All of them have a saw of various sizes, and most have at least a couple wheels. A lot of them don't go all the way through with the full range of Nova wheels, so you might only have like 2 sintered diamonds, or a sintered diamond and a black Nova, that kind of thing. It's pretty rough and rugged. It's basically just get an idea of what the rough is and then sell it on as a rub. Do you have a splash guard? I do have a splash guard. It is... oh god, it's outside. Yeah, it's outside. It's just a clear, transparent plastic box. I am going to upgrade because the plastic does get scratched over time and gets a little bit cloudy, which makes the camera work a little bit worse. So what I'm going to do is actually get an aquarium and just take off the lid and take off the bottom flat. Well, not bottom flat, just the floor of the aquarium is gone. So I might have to cut it out. I had a look at one, and silicone jobs are pretty hardcore on those, so I'll probably just have to cut it out, but that's alright. So that's the splash guard. Do you know how to differentiate white apple fender, Kubipedi, Andamuka, and Lightning Ridge? I don't want to spoil too much, but I am working with a couple old research scientists that I used to work with on some opal stuff, so we're hoping to get into a lot of it. And there is actually a way that you can test between them all and kind of fingerprint their location, where they came from. So it's a lot of elemental tracing basically from what I've seen in a lot of the literature, and we're going to go through and probably look at that at a deeper level and try to get it right, just because we're interested in that kind of stuff, and I'm basically supplying the opal, so that'll be good. Want to get a 2 or 4 wheel lure tone, just change out the wheels. I hate changing out wheels. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's because I know that there's a nice 6-wheel setup out there that you can just run straight along. But yeah, I mean, I've got an advert up for used equipment, so if any used 2 or 4 wheel or something comes up, even just a single wheel, I'm looking at scooping up anything I can, because it'll make good videos, just renovating them and stuff and getting them going. I mean, a wheel underwater, an underwater wheel. An underwater wheel. I don't think I've seen an underwater wheel that just permanently sits underwater. I have seen people use spinning plates with sandpaper glued on them. That seems to work okay. I haven't actually done a video on that, and I haven't tried it myself, but that's something I will try. Yeah, so the making your own cabbing machine and filming the process is actually something I am going to do. It's just been... it's actually just the components, the parts that are at the moment proving quite difficult. I work in an engineering faculty of a university, so I've got plenty of people around that have built far more complicated things. So if I get stuck on anything, I can do it, can get help and work out the problems. So yeah, I probably will make one. It's just, yeah, I need to be able to get the stuff first, which is proving difficult. Shortest favourite opal you have? Well, there's a 2-part series on it at the moment. Favourite opal would have to be the Julian Stavrius All Julian's Belemnite that I tested out the Blacklighted Secret Polish on. If I can get it out, here we go. I mean, this is just a webcam, so it's not going to come up very well, and there's no real lighting, but this one here, this Belemnite, which I don't actually want to hold like that. Yeah, it's not gonna come up, but there is a video on it if you just look through the recent ones, and you'll see it there. It's probably the favourite that I've cut this year, and maybe not of all time, but it was pretty fun to work on, and it's a nice looking piece, so I can't complain too much about that. Yeah, tile saw is useful as a cheap trim saw. The only problem is the thickness of the blade. I definitely want to swap it out and be able to use a proper diamond thin blade, because otherwise you do end up losing a lot of material with a tile saw. I have tried it out on some fairy opal just for fun, and yeah, lose a good chunk slabbing. I use a slicing pear. Oh yeah, good way to get a flat back. Welcome back to the land of the living. Is cerium sold in different grades? Yeah, cerium oxide is definitely sold in different grades. Don't buy anything less than optical grade, I think they call it. Optical grade is basically the minimum. Anything that can polish windscreens and stuff is what you want, because you want it clear. You want the opal beautifully clear when you're finished with it and nicely shined. Otherwise it's going to end up fogging it, probably worse than the 3000 Nova, because even that's got a pretty good pre-polish on it. So definitely gotta stay away. I asked the glass cutting place and they hadn't even heard of it. That's well, Nancy, where were you really asking? Because if this is in Horsham or Dimboola, there's a lot of things that people around there haven't heard about. So I think cerium oxide is probably a little bit too scientific for them, so they might know it by something else, like a different name. It might be called Xerox or something like that. There are a few different names for it that are more common, which is probably something more like what they'll use. Good old country Victoria. It's a good place. Haven't been back for 10 years or something now. You can always just add bigger arbor and more wheels. Yeah, that's true, as long as you can keep it balanced. Oh yeah. Well, I do actually have a couple people that have sent me a few schematics and stuff. So yeah. A water pump for a grinding wheel. Your water hits the stone from the back and nothing gets in the way of your filming. Yeah, I mean, there are a few little sketches I've done that are similar sounding to that. So, Toronto Opal, you are onto something. And Max, I might actually DM you and just find out what's going on with the secondhand market in the UK. I'm very interested in the UK because there seems to be a lot of you guys over there doing this lapidary stuff, but you've got like zero support out there. Yeah, lol, it was Horsham. Yeah. Might need to go to Ballarat. Maybe just upgrade to Ballarat, do a nice 3-hour drive on top of that, and you might get somewhere. Classic. For those of you that don't know, me and Nancy are actually from the same town. That's where I finished my high school, and then I came across to Adelaide, and I've been here ever since. So we have a few jokes about the area and stuff because we actually know it quite well. Have you used tin oxide? It heard it's better for polishing boulder. I have used tin oxide, and I have found it to be better for polishing boulder opal. So you're not wrong. You're not wrong, Terry. It is good. Aluminium oxide is also Aluminium oxide is actually an interesting one. I haven't actually found it to be better than cerium oxide or tin oxide on any specific opal yet, but from memory, it's much more expensive. Um, I do have aluminium oxide at uni because we use it for polishing a few mirrors and stuff that like reflect lasers in certain pieces of equipment that I look after, and on quadrupoles and stuff, which are basically fancy magnets. So there are a lot of things that use that kind of polish, but for opal, I haven't actually found it all that great. Good morning, Paul. But yeah, I don't actually know. So what I'm doing with my head, which is making me dizzy, is I've got the streaming kind of set up over here. I've got a live stream of that over there, and it seems to be fairly delayed, but that's alright. If anyone's got any more questions, by all means fire them through. I don't actually know how long we've been going. Oh, it's already 40 minutes. That's not bad. Why is tin better for boulder than cerium oxide? I'm not entirely sure. It could just be that the cerium oxide that I've been playing with lately has been of a higher grit, so it's a little bit of a chunkier powder. It didn't feel that much difference, but it did get it just got a better finish. The shine, and even it was even on the ironstone, the shine that you get from the aluminium oxide was just a little bit better. Um, just looking up the aluminium oxide versus corundum thing there. Yeah, so corundum is a crystalline form of aluminium oxide. So it's basically just that's been crushed right down. So turtle wax is aluminium oxide. I've never heard of it called turtle wax. Turtle wax to me sounds like some sort of very illegal imported good. Oh yeah, featuring aluminium oxide abrasives. So turtle wax is like a something that's been made. Oh, it's a polishing compound. Yeah, all right. Turtle wax premium metal polish. Interesting. So maybe it is just really good for metal. I noticed there it does say a lot of that says that it's car people use on their wheel rims and metal areas around headlights for some of those old vehicles. So maybe it is just really good for metal and it's just not the best for stone, but I don't know. I've just never had great luck with aluminium oxide. Yeah, turtle wax is American car wax. All right. Yeah, so I reckon it might just be really good for metal. I don't know. I haven't tried. When I start doing the metal smithing, I'll probably try it out again. I've still got a container of it. What do you think is in Mark Ianson's special powder? Yeah, the special powder. Where is it? Oh, it's around somewhere. I've lost it. Mark can send me more. It's alright. No, it's around somewhere. I mean, I've got the mix. Here. So it's crushed out a bit and most of the powder is actually on the bottom now. But, I don't know. It's could just be a really fine cerium oxide. I don't think so. I reckon it probably is just a tin oxide of some sort. I can get it tested and work out what it is, but I like the mystery of it being a secret polish for now. Not for turtle polishing. Well, I'm sure it would polish a turtle shell, so who knows? Who knows? But yeah, any other questions? I think it's the white cerium. I mean, I've got little pouches of the white cerium. Oh, I found it. Alright, so. Secret polishing powder. This is white cerium just here. And they look nothing alike, actually. In fact, this white cerium that I got gifted to me as a bit of a trial run is much finer. It looks like icing sugar almost. But you know, I haven't even tested this one. It could literally be some sort of random white powder. And then there's a little batch of yellow cerium oxide. I've got pink cerium oxide, and this is just what's on my desk. I've got other aluminium oxides, tin oxides. I've got all sorts of polishing powders lying around the place. Is white cerium oxide finer than the pink? Well, you can get the pink in different grades as well, so I don't actually know why there is such a difference between them. But from what I've seen, most of the time, the white cerium oxides do come in a finer grit than the pink. So you can probably get it ground down even further. But in general, I reckon they do make the white finer. So yeah, other people seem to agree with that as well. I've always found that the white can be sold in a finer powder than the pink. So maybe it's some sort of color coding thing that they use. Could you use baby powder? I have never even thought about it. Baby powder. What is baby powder? Isn't that talc? Because talc is actually incredibly hard. Oh, right. So you can get talc-free baby powder. Cornstarch? I didn't think cornstarch was baby powder. Talcum. It is, or was, talcum. And yet, I mean, talc is what? Like a magnesium silicon oxide, hydroxide, I think. Oxide, hydroxide. Yeah, I think so. So, I don't know. If you ground it fine enough, you might be able to. It wouldn't dissolve in water too well. Yeah, I don't know if you could use it for polishing rocks, but I guess if you can get it fine enough, it might work. Oh, people use it for polishing furniture. Furniture's a little bit different to opal, but maybe you could. I don't know. I might actually, baby powder is cornstarch now. Talc was outlawed. Oh, of course it was. Well, if it's cornstarch, you're out of luck. So I might actually just get some talc. I've got a lot of talc at uni. If I just use a spoonful of that out of the 20 kilo bag, I think we use it in a prac somewhere. But yeah, maybe it might actually work. I'd probably have to grind it finer because it is fairly coarse stuff, and talc is really hard. It's really hard. It'll scratch the hell out of something soft like opal. Outlawed in 2020. Oh, we've missed out. We've missed out by a year from being able to just walk down to the supermarket. I didn't know that. I didn't know that talc was out of baby powders. I just always assumed it was baby powder. Oh, well, that's a stitch up. Is it really a carcinogen now? Well, I mean, I say now, but I guess it always was, we just didn't know. Right. Well. It's not like we weren't using it either, so that's not great. I guess the same thing happened with things like asbestos, so yeah, I guess we... Oh no, I closed the browser. It's alright. That sucks. I started cutting because of you. Thank you. I do want people to get into it. There's too much fun to be had to ignore carving. I was discouraged on cutting opal with a Dremel, but that's all I had. And when I seen how you did, I dove right in. That's good. That's good. Hopefully you just like me, slowly upgrade in tools and stuff, and you'll be an expert in no time. That's really why I'm trying to get a lot of these really young kids into opal. Like the kid that went out to compete and just noodled some random stuff that he thought were just rocks, and luckily enough his mum knew that I was interested in opal and said check these out, and I picked out a few, and I mean there's a whole series on those ones that I got carved out of that, and one of them in particular is absolutely insane. So he is now, well actually he's really busy with school because he started high school, so he's a bit out of action in the opal carving game, but he is really into it. So when he gets the time, I'll help him out a bit more, and we'll train up another young opal carver. Oh, Talco trace amounts of asbestos. What a coincidence that I was just talking about it. Then keep those baggies in a... Oh, I must have missed the first. When you get it portioned in baggies... Da, 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 da. God, all this talk about powder and baggies is not advertiser friendly on YouTube. No wonder they don't pay me anything. Yeah, so at the moment I just keep these. I've always got them multiple bagged. Mainly, I think this one... Oh no, it's only in 2 now. It used to be in 4 bags. Marks I need to put in another bag because I used it the other day. All these other ones are multi-bagged. Just because, yeah, you're right. You want to keep the moisture out of it and everything. I like them nice and dry. Talc with asbestos. What a stitch up. The poor babies had no chance. And on use Instagram. I try to use Instagram. Toronto knows this, but I rarely ever check it. I get messages from Toronto Opal all the time, and then I log on and suddenly I've got like 21 missed messages. I'm terrible at Instagram. I just never grew up with it. I don't like to take photos of my food and post it, so it's hard to get my head around Instagram. It's good that you're getting into it, Josh. Joshua Black. Any powdered rock is bad if you breathe it in. That is true. That is true. Any fine dust at all is bad. But oh well, we've all learned something, including me, which is ideal. I'm quite happy with that. It's been a good live stream. Oh, we're probably closing in on now. It's getting close to 8 a.m. Time for some breakfast and some coffee. Actually, I think I'll stay off the coffee while my head is not feeling 100%. So I've been avoiding coffee for the last few days. Just have some water and some eggs, I think. Maybe some bacon. But yeah, no, it's been good. I don't know how many people we got here. It should tell me somewhere. 30 watching now. So I don't know how many overall, but that's great. Well, Jeremy, if you need help in terms of setting up a decent setup to show off your opal, just let me know. I really need to. I really need to get onto making those videos to help people in terms of how to get the best look out of their opal using just cheap equipment, lighting and cameras. So yeah, I'll commit to that for sure. I've really got to do it. I mean, if I can't turn on the rotary tool without blowing my head apart, I might actually work on that today. So I'll just chill out, lie in front of my computer, and just put together a bit of a presentation thing. And then who knows, we might live stream that next week or the week after. But I will catch you guys later. I kind of forget where my camera is. It's up there. But yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Hopefully I'm back to carving in no time, and we can we can get back to where we were and where we were planning to be in a couple days ago. So have a good weekend, guys.